A superhero is typically defined as a character with extraordinary abilities, a strong moral code, and a commitment to protecting others. They often wear distinctive costumes and adopt heroic alter egos. While many superheroes possess superpowers, some rely on intelligence, technology, or exceptional skills. For example, we see in superhero characters like Batman or Iron Man. Superheroes first appeared in comics, but their transition to the big screen began in the early 20th century. It was in the 15 when early superhero adaptations included serials like Adventures of Captain Marvel in 1941 and Superman the Mole Man in 1951 appeared on TV and the silver screen. In the 70th decade, the first major breakthrough was Superman. The movie premiered on 1978 starring Christopher Reeve, and this movie was a very mind-blowing superhero legend on the screen. And imagine Superman as a superhero who had superpower abilities, assumed to had an alien descent, and he was from another planet. On those days, humans' minds still couldn't believe in higher power for a human being whom is unbreakable. About 10 years later, superhero movie-making attempt followed by Batman on 1989, directed by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson as Joker. It was a classical fantasy approach to the Batman superhero story, and as Jack Nicholson portrayed Joker so amazing and perfect as a dark, high-level classical criminal, Joker turned into a very memorable character in this movie genre. On the year 2000, the superhero genre exploded with films like X-Men in 2000 and Spider-Man in 2002, and it turned into a very popular movie genre all around the world, especially between teenagers and young adults. From that time and in later years of the century, the rise of Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man in 2008 reshaped the genre into interconnected storytelling. Marvel Comics, founded in 1939 as Timely Comics, introduced many iconic superheroes including Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, and X-Men, who all have special outcomes and modern athletic facilities, and unbelievably unbreakable. The Marvel Cinematic Universe began in 2008 with Iron Man, creating an interconnected film and TV series universe. It is divided into phases with notable events like the Avengers in 2012 forming a shared universe and Avengers Endgame in 2019 making a major climax. In 2005, Christopher Nolan began to work on Batman Trilogy and began with Batman Begins, to The Dark Knight in 2009, and then in 2012 in The Dark Knight Rises, and by this way he redefined a classical dramatic structure suitable for a superhero movie through a redefinition of Protagonist by zooming on a hero's hamartia to break it down and create an unbreakable protagonist who has enough powers to pass through the darkness within to embrace a change and transformation for the sake of humanity. Christopher Nolan is an auteur director, and of course he has created all instruction in order to create a real superhero as a symbol of loyalty dedicated to saving humanity and creating peace among the society. If we wanna discuss on all other superhero movies and TV shows, we can use all his basic instruction orders we can find through his creation of Batman Trilogy. This is Ellen the Marvelous, the Movie Gangstar, and I am going to make a breakdown on Christopher Nolan's superhero structure for you. In this review, I am going to make an approach to this trilogy to define Nolan's superhero structure by a redefinition of Protagonist in breakdown through a structure of Aristotelian drama. First, please hit the thumbs up and press the like button and share the video through your network and communities. Subscribe to my channel to support my channel, and don't forget to push the notification bell to be informed of all of my videos, reviews, and breakdowns as I uploaded them. As I mentioned, Nolan redefines a new type of protagonist who has no flaws and lacks no fears to make a step forward in dramatic universe, and represents a new type of character as a superhero through a breakdown in the structure of Aristotelian drama. But how he does that? Let's have a deeper look into this. As I mentioned in my other review on the Dark Knight movie's climax point, there is a scene when Batman throws Joker down off the building, and he pulls him by the rope hanged by one foot up at the same time, and there is a conversation between them.
You just couldn't let me go, could you? This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Yes, this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. This is the riddle that Joker discusses on at this moment. Batman saves Joker, as it seems, because he has promised Gordon not to let even a nose bleed. He is in survival mode, but Joker throws the words one after another and speaks of a never-ending battle between two opposite forces. Here, in this dialogue between them and at that exact moment, and if you just look deeper into his words, you can see it's all about energy and forces against each other. As it seems, he is talking about Newton's laws of motion. He's exactly pointing to the law of inertia, which says an object at rest remains at rest, and an object in motion remains in motion at constant speed and in a straight line unless acted on by an unbalanced force. Newton's first law states that every object will remain at rest or in uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change its states by the action of an external force. This tendency to resist changes in a state of motion in inertia. If all the external forces cancel each other out, then there is not force acting on the object. If there is no net force acting on the object, then the object will maintain a constant velocity. And now imagine here, and in this very case, the energy or the force is unlimited, and it means it's unstoppable, and that's which can make the change. But what if the obstacle is constant, as an immovable object is inevitable? And as we see, he exactly points to the fact that Batman saved him and didn't let him fall down and die. By the way, he's challenging Batman and tries to break his self-esteem, which is the most important fact for someone to become a superhero. And he does that only because he knows well now his old tricks don't work on Bruce Wayne, Batman anymore. And here is exactly the point where makes bridges to Batman's redemption and success in the third sequel of Trilogy. Each film follows a refined three-act structure but with non-linear storytelling and layered character arcs. As we see, the first movie, Batman Begins, is a preparation and act of becoming by itself, as the second sequel and movie, The Dark Knight, is the act of testing, and it's all about a test which needed to be passed. And now, after all happened between Batman and Joker in this scene, and as Batman knows that people can't stand on such a huge loss, a symbol of trust, who they were counting on as the White Knight, who was trying to conquer criminals and commands on justice, now has turned into a villain. Now Harvey Dent has died and they only need a murder, a Dark Knight, as a scapegoat to hide everything has happened behind the scenes about Harvey Dent, only to keep the soul of trust and hope united in this Gotham City, which is Gotham's soul. And in the final scene, it's the exact point when Commissioner Gordon has his final speech on Harvey Dent's memorial, as he calls him not a hero they deserved, a hero they needed.
Not the hero we deserved, but the hero we needed.
For mortal man, at least a shining knight. All people on those rafts believed and trusted in Harvey Dent as the Gotham soul. And now this strong trust and belief needed to be answered, not to be broken. And now Bruce Wayne as the Batman is the one who has sacrificed himself for the soul of Gotham and going to live in quiet behind a shadow as the Dark Knight. It was an act of self-sacrifice. And now the third sequel of this trilogy is the act of redemption. Bruce is physically and mentally broken, living in self-imposed exile. Bane appears to be in the civilian side, but as it seems, the fire is rising and burning all Gotham into complete destruction and chaos. Batman still is weak, and when he faces with Bane for the first time at those savages, Bane defeats him, forcing him to rediscover his purpose. And now, at the end, instead of dying as a tragic hero, Bruce transcends his hamartia, saves Gotham, and passes the mantle, proving he is more than just a man. He's a symbol. But what is hamartia though? Let's look into that. Nolan is trying to redefine the protagonist hero as a protagonist superhero through this trilogy based on a classical tragic drama structure described by Aristotle in his Poetics for the first time. A classic tragic hero like Hamlet or Oedipus has a hamartia, a fatal flaw leading to their downfall. Nolan reconstructs this flaw to create a protagonist who transcends tragedy rather than succumbs to it. Bruce Wayne has fear and anger. His fear of bats, of loss, and his anger towards criminals fuel his darkness. He has this duality in his mind on vengeance versus justice. Initially, Bruce seeks revenge, but through Ra's al Ghul and Rachel, he learns that justice must be selfless. Now let me show you how Christopher Nolan fixes this internal fear or hamartia in Batman's character to become a new transcendent version of himself as a superhero. In the first sequel of this trilogy, Batman Begins, Bruce Wayne confronts fear and transforms into a symbol of power. He chooses justice over revenge, preventing him from falling into a tragic path like Ra's al Ghul. In the second sequel, The Dark Knight movie, his flaw now shifts. He believes he can escape responsibility by passing the burden to Harvey Dent, leading to disaster. And it's all because of his internal fears and challenges, which has caused him a duality from inside, which is unseen to eye as the exact opposite of what has happened to Harvey Dent's face. Harvey's flaw and hamartia is now representing himself not only as a two-faced character, but reflects in his cruel acts of revenge, and this is what turns him into dark criminal. But Batman has inner conflicts, and this duality happens inside, and he prefers to become a sacrifice of this disaster, not to be a responsible one, and it causes the Gotham people to believe in a lie, a phantom of a Gotham White Knight, which brings them hope for better days. But in the third sequel of this trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises, Batman overcomes his greatest flaw, his belief that Batman is his punishment, by choosing life. Nolan elevates the superhero from a mythic figure to a humanized, evolving character. We see Batman is not infallible. He has failures, he suffers, and even he doubts himself. Nolan shows us that heroism is about sacrifice. Unlike many superheroes who win by defeating villains, Nolan's Batman wins by letting go of Batman, the shadow self, and proving the heroic ideal is about the legacy, not just individual power. And after all, he proves that symbolism is matters over superpowers. Batman, unlike Superman or Spider-Man, relies purely on human willpower, making his transformation from tragedy to hero even more compelling. And that's what's precious about a true superhero. He always relies on human willpower to conquer his battles. Nolan's Batman is a tragic figure who overcomes his own flaw, evolving from a vengeful orphan into a true symbol of hope. By fixing his hamartia, he transforms the superhero genre, showing that a hero's greatest strength is not power, but the ability to rise beyond their own tragedy, which is all possible through self-reflection and introspection. And here, I'm going to discuss on the ending scene in the third sequel of Batman Trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. As we see, Bane's plan to destroy Gotham with a nuclear bomb reaches its final stage. Batman now recovers from his injuries, fights Bane and defeats him, but Miranda Tate, Talia, is revealed as the true mastermind. With only minutes left before the bomb detonates, Batman uses Bat, his own vehicle, to carry the bomb over Gotham Bay. The bomb explodes far from the city, appearing to kill Batman. Bruce Wayne is declared dead. A statue of Batman is erected in his honor. Gotham, now free from the League of Shadows, begins rebuilding. But at the ending sequence of movie, which is containing a crosscut between Bruce Wayne's final destination and also John Blake, who is going to discover his new path by putting his feet on Batman's footprint. In the final moments of the film, three key revelations occur. We see it seems Alfred's vision has come true. Earlier in the movie, Alfred tells Bruce he once dreamed of seeing him alive, living a quiet life. In the final scene, Alfred sits in a cafe in Florence and sees Bruce Wayne with Selina Kyle, Catwoman, alive and well. It seems Bruce Wayne has survived. The reveal suggests Bruce faked his death using the autopilot feather of the bat, which he secretly fixed months earlier. And after all, this is Blake, who we see at the end, is the next Batman. John Blake discovers the Batcave, hinting that he may take up the mantle of Gotham's protector. Bruce Wayne has transformed. Unlike classic tragic heroes who died because of the hamartia, Bruce overcomes his flaw, his belief that Batman must be a lifelong punishment. Bruce Wayne, by faking his death and leaving Gotham behind, he finally escapes the shadow of Batman and chooses life. As we see Batman as a symbol, not a person. Batman could be anyone. The trilogy emphasizes that Batman isn't just Bruce Wayne. It's an idea that transcends one man. By passing the legacy to John Blake, Bruce ensures Gotham always has a guardian. It is what it is. As some fans believe, Alfred only imagines seeing Bruce representing his wish for Bruce's happiness. However, multiple clues like the autopilot fix and Bruce wearing his mother's pills suggests Bruce is alive and well. Unlike most superhero movies where the hero keeps fighting, The Dark Knight Rises lets Bruce retire and live happily ever after. By conquering his hamartia, Bruce Wayne becomes more than a tragic hero. He becomes the legend. And here I need to mention of a very fantastic scientific fact and again refer you to Newton's law of energy. Law of conservation of energy states that within a closed system, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but rather transformed from one form to another, with the total amount of energy remaining constant. And now here in this movie, again we can refer to this law of conservation of energy and say a superhero never dies, always transferred from a person to another. And that's the law of conservation of superhero described by Christopher Nolan for superhero and superpower, which is true and comes from inside of the heart. And that's what matters. Christopher Nolan has a real Aristotelian confrontation with the matter of superhero and a dramatic structure for superhero movie. He not only has used Aristotle's poetics rules to redefine a superhero structure, but has used the law of conservation of energy, which has been discussed by Aristotle for the first time in ancient Greece too. Of course, Christopher Nolan has redefined a new structure and a new definition of a superhero, but story never ends here. Nolan uses Batman's self-esteem and inner power to stand against Joker's temptations, and there was no obstacle or barrier in front of his willpower. But as Joker says, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? When a hero still is challenging with his own shadows and flaws and has not enough self-esteem to face with this immovable object. That's where the Boys TV show created by Eric Kripke begins. And in my next review, I'm going to discuss on this TV show based on what Joker claims and we see the show begins with. I hope you enjoyed this review, which is a beginning to a superhero challenge on knowing more about super protagonists in modern cinema. Please like the video if you enjoyed and share this video through your community and friends. And if you have anything to add, you can comment below in the comment section. Please subscribe to my channel to support my channel. And don't forget to push the notification bell to be informed of all of my reviews, breakdowns and videos as I uploaded them. See you in my next review.
I'm coming for you. Because today, a new age of superheroes begins.
You wanna know what Zeus said to Narcissus? You better watch yourself.